Good evening. Tonight, we do have someone who I look at make an impact. Franklin County Municipal Court, Ajmeri Hoque, who should be, interviewing today about diverse our city. This community engagement program we have been doing for many, many years for different platforms that we have presented with the city, state, and federal issues. That a lot of them we invite people to hear the voices of the community concerns, but also to know the person who's actually running our cities, to know more about who they're representing, what they do, things like that. I want to welcome you, community engagement with Prohan. We've been hosting many many years. I've been part of the many immigrants for the last 30 years. I've been living in the city. I've seen a lot of changes. I want to welcome you, our platform, to engage and have dialogue with you tonight. Ajmeri, welcome to Procast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time and also the community engagement tonight.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that everybody knows who you are and what you have done. Ajmeri Hoke, could you talk about your background a little bit more about?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Ajmeri Hawk, and I was born in Bangladesh, and my family moved to this country when I was 2 years old. We settled in New York City, where I spent my formative years, and then we moved to Columbus when I got accepted to The Ohio State University for undergrad. I continued my education at Capital University Law School. I graduated there in 2010. I am licensed to practice in Ohio and New York. I actually practiced in New York for a couple of years right after law school because my husband was doing residency in New York at the time. But we moved back to Ohio in 2013. And since then, I have been practicing criminal law. So from 2013 to 2015, I was with the prosecutor's office in Lancaster, Ohio, which is in Fairfield County. And I got a lot of good experience there doing the prosecution side of criminal work. But then in 2015, I joined a private defense firm, and I have been doing guardian ad litem work, juvenile defense work, and adult criminal defense work since then.
Wow, it's a lot of experience. You'll see that, and also you're running this municipal court seat now.
Yes,
Could you talk
currently,
about, yeah, Carly,
I
you're running?
Yes,
Yeah.
currently I'm running for Franklin County Municipal Court. I am unopposed, so I will be joining the bench in January of 2026. However, as I like to tell everybody, I still want everyone's votes because I think it's really important to have community support for anyone, even if they're unopposed. Um, so my seat is currently held by Judge James Green, who has been on the bench for over 30 years. He has decided to retire at the end of this year, and I am, honored to be able to take up, the open seat and hopefully do a good job when I get there.
Wonderful. Judge Green, I've known so many, many years that, went to a lot of Evan, we invite some discussion back we do have, but I appreciate it for you to show that representation matters, in the court also as well. Could you talk about, for those who I shared with information with a lot of the people, some of the people know the court, but some of them they knew. Can you talk about what the court responsible for the municipal court?
Sure. Municipal court is actually responsible. Franklin County Municipal Court is actually the busiest municipal court in the state. It is responsible for all misdemeanors. So any type of traffic violation that you may have, assaults, deep domestic violences, thefts, a lot of just the minor things, such as all of the OSU protest cases that came last year. They were all through municipal court. And then also we do small claims in municipal court, so anything up to 15,000. So these are like civil claims, businesses, maybe personal issues that may come up between folks. And then there's landlord tenant, environmental court, and there is just a little bit of felony that we handle, and that's only because it comes through the bond. If people are arrested on a felony, they're held, and then the municipal court judge, does the first bond on the case. And so that's the only time we ever hear a felony. And then after that, the felony goes up to felony court.
Wow. That's what a lot of people really come every day in traffic violation, eviction, violation. We do know issues. A lot of minor immigrants in the city also face a lot of tenant issues where tenants not actually doing what they're supposed to do. We see that during the COVID, and we see a lot of times, but also um, traffic and also eviction and landlord tenant disputes, right? So the average the small claim is like 15,000 or less, right?
Yes, it's 15,000 or less in municipal court.
Okay. So what about environmental division? Did you deal with the more environmental issues
So
with the
I will not be dealing with
houses?
any environmental issues because there's a separate judge for that. It's
Yeah,
Judge Mingo, and
Mingo. Yeah.
she'll be handling all of that.
Hmm. Wow. So another thing is I do want to make sure people who understands is in terms of the judges, including yourself, this is the same numbers like 14, 15 in terms of the. Could you?
There are 15 Franklin County Municipal Court judges. Yes.
Mhm. Could you could you talk about they do the same responsibilities as you do?
Yes, so all the judges will handle similar cases, except for environmental court, which is Judge Mingo. She has her own docket, her own specialty court that handles just that. But everybody else, we handle all of the same things. So if you come in front of one person, it's like coming in front of anybody else. Now, I will say each judge handles their courtroom a little bit differently, just depending
Hmm.
on their habits and their wants and wishes. But generally speaking, the law is applied equally by all the judges.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, also criminal cases, traffic violation, disorderly conduct, assault, all those things your come as your jurisdiction. Okay,
Yes.
and in terms of the if you've been elected, you've been serving 6 years,
So it is
correct?
a 6-year term. All judges are 6-year terms.
Mhm.
The good thing about municipal court judges, and I will say common pleas judges and domestic judges, is we are still considered nonpartisan. So there is no R or D
Yeah,
next to our name, and which is, I think it helps keep the neutrality of judges. We are not supposed to be taking one side over the other. We are a neutral party, and I hope that that stays that way too.
yeah, that's very important because that's what we all need to get, a fair game on the court, not the bias. In terms of, the question that people ask me also, in terms of the number of people walking the court when it comes to multi languages, also was issue.
Yeah, so actually, I will say it in my experience in practicing as a defense attorney, not just in municipal court, but I also do felony. I also did felony work and then juvenile and domestic work too. There is a significant number of multilingual folks that come through the courthouse. There's a large number of immigrant families, a large number of just new Americans in general. As a new American, as an immigrant, I really do feel for their struggle as they come through the court system because one, most people are not familiar, whether you are a new American or not. Most people don't like court, right? And most
Yeah.
people are scared of court and they don't really know what court is like. So it is definitely an intimidating factor, but you have the additional barrier of being a new immigrant and having those language barriers that adds to it. So I've seen so many folks who come through and they just don't know what their rights are. They don't understand what's happening because there's the language barrier. And a lot of times, these formal legal terms are very difficult to translate into your native language because our native language, like I speak Bengali, that's my
Mhm.
native language, and I know conversational Bengali, right? But I don't know formal Bengali. So for me, it's difficult to then translate these formal legal terms into formal Bengali. A lot of times, if I'm translating it, I just use a casual Bengali, conversational Bengali term, but that's not accurate because it
Mhm.
doesn't always translate the severity of what's happening. And I see that across the board with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds. And, that's actually something that I'm really passionate about. And I really will hope to like work on is the translators and the interpreters in the court system. Whether it's fortunate, unfortunate for my clients, but I've had a lot of clients who come from immigrant backgrounds, lots and lots over the last 10
Mhm.
years that I've been on the defense side. And um, it's a big barrier. It's a big barrier. And while this county has helped and moved forward positively, in that manner for when we started, it's still a big work in progress. And I think as somebody who actually is from the immigrant community, from the New American community, I feel as though I have a personal interest in this, and I can actually talk about the way it affects communities more so than, we have great judges on the bench, but they're not personally affected, right? Their communities, their families are not personally affected. So I don't want to say it's hard for them, but it's probably not as uh, um, a stronger issue for them as it would be for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because the many of us advocated, navigated multiple layers of the system, and it's very hard. Although I have a lot of Tonys, a lot of friends, a lot of judges that I have, but it's navigating it's hard, and nobody wants to go there, regardless. It doesn't matter where you come from. But also, there's a lot of barriers that come as a lot of minority immigrants who come in that place who navigation, access information, know your rights, things, and know what to go, who to talk to them. It's a critical issue that still exists. But I see somebody, for example, you're coming from background for minority immigrants who bilingual, who sees their communities being impacted by form of even interpreting or translating. It's not the same as somebody who's professional. I've seen a lot of time they call agencies, but they don't have in-house strong uh, representation. Folks will be lifting up, become professionals. But what you into for you, what you're going to do that because I see it's never changed. Still, they call agencies that come and go.
A lot of it is I have been told because I've asked around, like, why is this not a better system? I've been told a lot of it is funding. I've been
Hmm.
told a lot of it is just not having access to better interpreters. Um, Part of the problem is when you have the interpreter that you have and you don't have an alternate, like let's say you have someone like me who's a Bengali interpreter but conversational, and you don't have any other Bengali interpreters, right? The court can't not use me because that is the only person that they have. Even though I might not be perfect, but imperfect is better than not having anybody for these folks who need it. And that's where the court is struggling. That's where the system is struggling. And I think a lot of it is what I'd like to do is actually go into a lot of the communities and talk about the opportunities that are there for interpreters. Interpreters are very well paid. Um, they just need to be certified. They just have to go through the certification process. And if they can't get certified, they can also be registered. There's two different ways. And they get they very well paid. It's a respectable job. We just need more folks. And I think that there's a lack of people, like if I want to talk about like the Bengali community, people don't think of that as a career, right?
Hmm.
But it is. It's a legitimate career. People are making really a good living on it. And we just need more folks to understand that for their children, for their future, for their own communities. Like if you have a good grasp on English and you are willing to work as you have a good grasp on your own language and you're willing to work on those skills to get more professionally trained on both languages, then you can have a good career as an interpreter. We don't always all have to be doctors and lawyers and engineers,
Hmm.
right? That's what the immigrant community loves. Like we always push our kids for that. There are so many other ways to be involved in these systems and help your community. And I think that's one of the ways I want to bridge the gap is go into these communities, tell them that these are careers that are really needed and then also like legitimate that people can go into.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned because like you said, it's something that people will be take for career forever. Many of us, do our professional job, but also was interpreting, translating a lot of documentation for the Department of Education, school systems, and across the board. Department of Education, we trained them. We did so much on the business. Came a long way, but like you said, we need to kind of like make sure that people are taking over and staying and building a strong community. I'm glad you really look in that pieces. Another thing I want to ask you a question is um, we do for what we call is internships. We have a lot of young college students that we mentor. My job is I mentor a lot of young people who are professional. Also, Bible for attorneys, things like that. You know, some of the judges, they actually able to help them come talk to those. Are you willing when you become an elected judge come back to the community?
Of course, I think that it's very important for community members to see someone who comes from their same background. Like my family came, we didn't have anything, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm the first person to go to college in my family in this generation. My brothers, of course, went to college too, but it, I know what it's like for
Hmm.
our people. I know what it's like. I know the struggle. I know the fact that like you're sending your kids to college. My parents or sending your kids to school. My parents had no idea, right? They were just like, "Oh, you're going to school in America. You'll be fine." But there's so many other layers, and I think having the fact that you have professionals now who are in these different areas can help and guide our own folks through this and our, the parents and the children. That's why we're here, right? That's part of the job. That's why we're here.
Hmm.
I'm not doing this just for myself. I'm doing this because I think it's really important for community members to have access to people in every position so that they can also become that person.
I'm glad you mentioned, the many of our parents came in, um, and what the background education, it didn't apply here, so they struggle for all of us. For also, we have I have a kids. When I went to school for them, it's a different because they're born here, they go to school, and they navigate and also so much navigation they have to do that, and to navigate because of, as immigrants, families always have that, hey, school is safe. You go to school, But reality is not that scenario. You have to kind of like advocate yourself, make sure you're talking to the people, right people, asking your teachers, extension, or things like that nature. There's a lot of barriers that we have to overcome. But also, there's so many people you left behind as well because of you fighting, you're trying to catch up, and you're seeing people are slipping, and trying to catch them, and you have your own struggle, and we see that all the time. But I appreciated that you have for you have that experience yourself, and for you, and when you sit that seat, you're gonna apply that struggle regardless of what, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's really important for judges to know the communities that they serve, and that means all the communities. I will say, like, one of the ways I practiced law is I actually didn't make my clients come to me to my office downtown because what I saw in my years of practice is that I was actually adding another barrier in representing them because I would require them to come to my office. You know what that happens? They have to take a day off of work. They have to get childcare. They have to get transportation. There's all
Hmm.
these things now that they have to consider when coming to meet with me. And I was a little taken aback by so many canceled appointments, right? And then, I would ask, like, what's going on? Why are you canceling? This is now the third time. I can't get, somebody has to watch my kids, or, I can't take another day off of work because I will lose my job. So I started going to my clients, and I have been in homes all over actually the state because I worked in many different counties. I've been in foster homes, I've been in homeless shelters, I've been in a lot of work sites because I represented so many construction workers. And I think that adds a certain layer of experience and just knowledge of how folks are living, like real everyday folks are living when I'm on the bench. And so if someone comes in front of me, at least I can say, like, I understand the barriers that are there because I've seen it with my own clients, but also I've seen it in my own experience growing up. Like I said, we were not well off. So we had a lot of struggles too. So it's a mix of both, and I hope to bring all of that to the bench when I'm there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned because one thing you mentioned was touched me because I remember way back, 15 years, 16 years, 17 years ago, when people couldn't go downtown, couldn't make Tony's appointment, and they missed and they can go, and it's just, they're not get used to. So what I did was, my center created bring a lot of Tonys. some of them pro bono, some of them they pay portion, but in the community, So and they were like, oh my God, we the traffic people were coming, people they getting access and services because a lot of people they have rights, they don't have transportation issues. They didn't have they like you said, family member. They didn't have no one babysitting. Dad is walking. Mom have a bunch of kids. They have a court date. I mean, it was a it wasn't suitable, in terms of, and they're missing some of the date that been set up, and a lot of immigrants they feel that legal when they have the court or ticket is bending on you. For them, it's like it's a big overwhelm. They have to deal with it, and I'm glad you see that and go where the people. I used to tell them, you have to go where the people are rather than coming to you because they have a barriers. People don't realize like
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. You have to go where the people are. People, you can't just sit in one place and expect the people to come to you. That's not how public service works.
yeah,
Mhm.
and really, I want you in terms of a judge. We have a lot of young people who I mentor. Many of them college students. Some of they're pretty much interested in going low school or what it is. We do invite all the judges to have that, speak about some of the engagement that we have the youth, and sometimes we bring the courts. I brought a lot of youth to the court to bench watch things so they could see themselves and have those one-on-one because I realized there was a missing gap for minority kids in the court. All the time they're seeing when the trouble people go there, but they didn't see the whole structure of rule of law, how things connected in terms of legal.
Mhm.
Um, for you, again, I'm going to put again, you're willing to come back for the youth to
Yeah,
be engaged and give you expertise.
100%.
Evan Judge Green used to come. We used to call him. He used to come.
Yeah,
This is the place you have
100%.
to come. Yeah.
Just call me anytime. I
Yeah.
will say, I think that it's very important for our
Yes.
kids to know how the criminal justice system and also the juvenile justice system works. Um, a lot of our children, especially like our immigrant children who have just like are newer or have, are born here, not like me. Um,
Yeah.
they come here or they're born and then, at 10, 12, they start acting out with their parents, typical teenage behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that we're too strict or we're the bad parents because we don't let them do many of the things that they think is American, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe sleepovers or going and hanging out with their
Mm-hmm.
friends over like long hours, whatever. Um, Sometimes it's good to bring these kids to court and just show them like how court is for kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I will say I had a very sad case where um, a child who was being normally disciplined by his parents, and he called CPS on his parents because he
Mm-hmm.
thought it would be better for him to go to a foster family. CPS took him, but then within 1 month, he was crying to come home. I mean, that's just like it's a lot of these are privileged takes that
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Yeah.
we didn't face, right, growing up, but like the kids nowadays think that they know better. But
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, bring these kids to court.
Yes.
Let them see because you know what happened? That child now was away from his family for a month, and who knows what he suffered. But it's better to give them that experience up front than to have that experience, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad you mentioned because I used to take my kids and their friends. They're now in college. My youngest is 12 now, but the rest of they graduate, two more next year graduate. But I used to take with their friends with them with a court,
Mhm.
and still they remember. They're like, we appreciate it that you really took us to the court, and I have a lot of judges that I know them to watch them and have dialogue and sit down and they watch them and they like their eyes was getting bigger bigger because the way we given everything. I told them spoilers, give everything they wanted, but the reality is, what we wrote about, they weren't thinking for them, and
Mhm.
sleep over or going places and things like that nature. You worried, and you know, but when I started taking, still I took a lot of kids in the court, showed them middle schoolers and high schoolers. By the time they come back, they write essays and see what they see. They're like,
Mhm.
oh my God, what they experience is like for them, it's like my eyes open now. I can see everything,
Mhm.
right? So I'm glad we did that because I realized that a lot of them, when teenagers, a lot of challenges, a lot of immigrants face, a lot of teenagers, their behavior wise and challenging comes in, but they don't have because there's tool to prevent them. All they know what they know.
Yeah, and I think that's a struggle that a lot of immigrant families' parents face, right? Because our parents grew up in a certain way, and then we are growing up in an American way, right? So
Yes.
they don't know how to handle a lot of the ways that we are different. And so I think that this is one of the ways that you bring the kids into it, and then slowly educate the whole family. Like, this is what happens in court, and this is why we have good behavior and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing I want to talk to you about, for you, um, if you're elected, you're going to sit that seat. If you're elected, what does look like for you for your first term and impact you hope to achieve,
You know,
basically.
I I just want to do a good job. I think that it's really important just to go in there with um for me, I need to learn the job. There's a lot of admin things that, I don't do as an attorney that judges do, and so I have to learn that part. Um, I hope to always remember the fact that when I'm taking somebody's liberty away, it is a burden on me, and I should remember that. Like, I think it's very, very important to um, remember that people want to live free, and
Hmm.
for some reason they end up in jail, and that is their liberty taken away. And I just want to always remember that. And I always want to make sure that I take that into my conscience when I'm making that decision, no matter what. And uh, there's a lot of programs in place to help folks, especially the folks that are there for the first time or have mental health issues, have addiction issues. There are programs in place, and of course, there are definitely going to be folks who, no matter what, you can't help them, and jail it might be the best place for them for that time being. But whatever it is, I just want to make sure that I do a good enough job that I always remember their humanity, and then their liberty is at stake, and it's on me to make that decision. So that's really what I hope to accomplish. I don't want to have big plans because it is my first time ever being
Yeah.
elected. It's my first time being
Mm.
a judge, so I like to keep it real simple.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned because uh, there is a young lady who's attending OSU. She was a third year, and she has some type of depression, and family didn't know anything about it. Exam is, she's overwhelmed,
Mhm.
and she break down, but the family didn't know about it. And while she was home, they realized she couldn't sleep. She started talking, so they took the OSU clinic in mental health, and they diagnosed some type of diagnosis, bipolar actually, and
Mhm.
they give medication. She came back taking medication, but she didn't want to take medication, so they worried and they didn't know how to navigate. Their first child, university third year, and guess what? Um, and she was kind of like acting, and they called the police. And when they called the police, came in and they told, please, could you check for she's not doing okay, she's not healthy. The officer didn't even listen to her.
Mhm.
Automatically, she pushed the officer, basically, leave me alone. And then automatically, he handcuffed her, put the car, and put her in Franklin County in jail. And she never had never experienced any type of, a court or anything. For me, it was heartbreaking. Like how the officer she didn't know about this young lady who was dealing with mental health, supposed to be net care or some type of intervention mental health, supposed to be doing that action. And we have to end up on the weekend. Friday actually was a Friday. She ended up the jail, so we have to go. We have to send her the documentation. The county prosecutor, the county assistant. I have to reach out to explaining them, and we have to hire a attorney and lawyer for the family who couldn't afford. I mean, it was really really miserable. The young lady to deal with, but I feel like the system fell. In terms of having someone who's supposed to, hey, this young lady. she's okay. She never have a record criminal whatsoever. The parents tell you she's mental, she's dealing with this diagnosis problem medication. She could be taking net care or taking some type of places. You know,
Yeah, I think I know that they're looking into programming to send social services workers out with
yeah,
officers. I don't remember if it's happened yet or not, but I know that
yeah,
that's always been kind of like a conversation the last few years that police departments are looking into is how do they incorporate social services workers because especially for these mental health calls,
yeah,
police officers aren't equipped a lot of times to deal with mental health patients who are going through mental health crises. And so it would be better to have someone from the social services there. But I don't know if it's happened yet or not, but I know that that's an ongoing conversation.
yeah. And I always believe it, like every call is not the police call. You know what I mean? It should be dispute, might be mental health crisis going on, might be intervention team will be deal with different thing. So those are things that we're seeing lately. And it's really what a lot of immigrants are talking about because a lot of them trauma has happened. Things could be anybody is possible to read those drama. But I want to ask you if if legacy, what's your legacy hope on this court? I mean, you'll be the first immigrant, Mary Hoke will
You
be the
know,
first one.
yes, I'll be the first immigrant and in Franklin County to be elected and the first Asian American in Franklin County as a judge to be elected. And I'll also be the first Muslim judge in Ohio. Um, I just hope I don't do a bad job. That's
Yes,
all I
you're
have to say.
getting a lot
I
of
can't,
yeah,
I can't think that far ahead as to legacy.
yeah.
I just want to do a good job. I really hope I don't do a bad job.
Pray for you.
That's that's all I ask. Um, Ask me again in 6 years.
Yes, yes. I always, you're carrying a lot of, heavy stuff, and we pray for you to make easy, God, for you. Pray for you
Thank you.
to
I
have,
appreciate it.
for that prayer for you to make you easy and make you easy your job, and those who come in front of you see that. Um, um, Another things I want to ask you for. A lot of time second chance people get being given opportunity. Some judges they see that person never have anything, and they look at that perspective. Hey, I might, you might do something, but I'll hope you learn from it, give you a chance. And a lot of judges, some of them, they tend to kind of like being humble, like giving second chance people before they even prosecute the person that whatever they did.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of good judges on the bench who prescribe to that philosophy of making sure they give folks chances in order to uh not mess up their life, right? Municipal court is
Yeah,
where most people that's their first entry into the legal justice system.
yeah.
So if they can stop people from coming back at that point, that's the best ideal solution for everybody, right? It's the ideal solution for them, it's the ideal solution for society, everyone. So second chances are definitely something that I will say I prescribe to that philosophy because I think that if we can stop someone from repeating their first incident, best thing to happen for everyone. He's then a contributing member of society. We as court folks don't get to see him again. And the overall community is better.
Yeah, yeah. That's somebody who are passionate about what you're doing. It's about the passion. You do your best your job, and to look at perspective of human person. But another thing I'm interested is, have you ever looked at the mental health the clinic inside the court? Have you ever
So
have a
I haven't sat into this specific courthouse's court
no?
their mental health
Mhm.
docket. There's already a judge who handles that, so I haven't sat with them, but I've actually
Yeah,
sat and observed some other specialty dockets. So I've seen how other specialty dockets have worked. And I will say, like, the judges who handle them, the staff who handle them, they try their best to give folks as many chances as they can. That's the point of these dockets, these specialty dockets, is to make sure that you give people a lot of resources, a lot of time and effort into making sure that they're not coming back to court. I will say specialty dockets are a big commitment. So when defendants choose to join them, it's a big commitment. So sometimes it doesn't work out for everyone, but it's a great program if people can get in and also be successful at.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for your bringing and for those scenarios. In terms of the residents, Franklin County is a large county, so those who actually watching and later on will sending them, what you want to tell the message that Mary.
Oh, thank you. So I just want to say that I am really honored to be able to have this opportunity. I think that um, it came as not a surprise. I worked hard for to get to this point, but it came as somewhat of a surprise that I'm unopposed. So I will look at this as something that is is an honor, but also something that should have more folks in. Like we should have more immigrants in these positions. We should have more Muslims in these positions. Like I want to have my goal, if I were to say like one big overarching goal for my career, is that I hope that more immigrant Muslims join the legal community. They decide to run for judge. They decide to give back to the community in this way. So that's what I hope for all of us. And I just want to say, November 4th is coming up. So even though I'm unopposed, you can still vote for me.
Yeah. Uh, Thank you. We'll have more invite you when you sit that seat. We'll invite you again with the community events and other places. We're going to push, we have a large data pool we're going to share with the community as well. But you'll be the first immigrants to see the Franklin County. We need to see that. It came, we can't say it's too late, but we've been fighting for a long time to see many people step into society and getting representation. Something we'd be really hungry and everybody look at that. It's honor for you, Mary, and we appreciate you for what you have done. Please, if as I said earlier, Center for Somali American Engagement, with the fact that we do endorse you as well, for you as a many immigrants endorse you. We joined that endorsement as well, Center for Somali American
Thank you. I
Engagement,
appreciate it. Mhm.
and we want to honor to have you. And please also focus, remember this young lady have place and space, so we make sure that we welcome her in the seat and advocate what she's doing. Is amazing. We make it easy for her. But again, give you one last word to say before we close.
Thank you. You know what? Call me anytime you have kids that need to look at what the justice system looks like. I'd be happy to show them around. So that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, and each and everybody who actually been sharing with the video. And please let them know the family. Make sure that early voting is open, Cynthia Morris Road, and November 4th. Don't forget to vote and make an impact. And one of our judges is Mary Hoke. Really, she's an amazing young lady who have done so much advocating, diverse, and anybody who actually struggling in the legal system. She has done so much. We appreciate it for her dedication, determination. We'll make dua for her, pray for her to make
Thank
it
you.
better judge.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. And
Assalamu
we,
alaikum, everyone.
alaikum
Okay.
salam. Okay.